Uncut Gems, man. Holy heck. Justin Cook here, and well, I'll be honest, Uncut Gems absolutely floored me. For like a million different reasons. Adam Sandler is a chaotic diamond-dealing sleazeball, the wonderfully dizzying editing, high contrast, strangely grotesque cinematography, as a Jew myself, the Safdie's very specific portrayal of upper-class Judaism, and a wallop of an ending that certainly leaves a lot for viewers to unpack. In today's video, I'm going to explain and give my interpretation of the ending of Uncut Gems and how it ties into the film's larger themes. Of course, spoilers will follow, so I highly recommend turning off the video now if you haven't seen the movie yet, but otherwise, ready? Let's get started. So for those of you who haven't seen the movie or who want a refresher, I'm going to spend a brief few moments explaining the events that lead up to the end of the movie before diving into my interpretation of the ending and the filmmaker's intent. If you want to skip this quick summary, feel free to jump to the time code listed on the screen to go right to where my interpretation of the ending begins. For the majority of Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler's Howard, who runs a jewelry store in New York City, is focused on a forthcoming auction of a newly arrived uncut gem of massive value called the Black Opal, which is mined by laborers in Ethiopia working under exploitative, poor conditions. NBA pro Kevin Garnett takes a liking to the gem, and after a bit of hassling, Howard sells it to him for $175,000. Less than what he initially hoped he'd get for it, but still a win, as it means Howard could pay back a group of goons who've been chasing him down, even kidnapping him at one point and threatening him if he can't repay his debt. But Howard's a complicated man who often lets his worst impulses get the best of him, even if he doesn't know they're his worst impulses. I mean, this is a guy who really sells himself on his own BS. Being the risk-taker, thrill-seeker that he is, he decides to bet the entirety of the money he made on KG overperforming in the night's playoff game against the 76ers, thinking that the gem will lead Garnett to have a huge game. As the group of goons enter into his diamond shop, he has his assistant/girlfriend Julia sneak out and go to a casino to place the bet. Howard locks the goons in the vestibule just outside his store and makes them an audience to the big game and his watching of the big game, as his life literally depends on this bet. Howard coos and caws and screams and cheers during the highs and lows of the game, and ultimately the bet ends up paying off. Howard has turned his $175,000 into $1.2 million, and an overjoyed Howard begins celebrating, even calling up his girlfriend and professing his love for her. He goes ahead and releases the goons from the vestibule of his shop into the store so they could share the happy moment with him, but in an instant, one of the debt collectors, Phil, raises his gun and shoots Howard square in the face, killing him. Phil also kills a fellow debt collector of his, who is also Howard's cousin, a man named Arno, and he and the remaining goon rob the jewelry store. An overhead shot pushes into the bullet hole in Howard's bloodied, motionless face on the ground, and as it zooms in, it reveals what looks like a vast universe within the wound. Cosmic and raw and beautiful, before it dumps the audience out into space. A shot of the stars in the sky as the credits roll. I think if I were to try to distill this movie into a single line, I'd say it's a film about how people try to maintain control in a random, chaotic world. But before I dive fully into that, I want to tell you what specifically makes Howard Ratner such a compelling character to me, and how his characterization plays into the film's ending. Howard is money-focused, sure, but he's way more interested in the hustle than the money itself. He gets high off the thrill of the bet, more so than the winnings. Do you really think that if he wasn't killed at the end of this movie and his girlfriend Julia had returned the $1.2 million to him, that he wouldn't just find another bet to hitch his winnings to? Of course he would. He's never satisfied. Not at his diamond shop, not his home life, not with himself, because his own hubris leads him to believe that there's more. In a lot of ways, I think the only truly satisfying way to end a movie like this is by having Howard die. And trust me, watching the last 30 minutes of this movie in the theater, I'm rooting for Howard, I'm hoping his bets pay off, but I also know that a guy like Howard will never get his fill. He's a greedy man and gambling addict, and he just wants more. And he wants more before he even knows what that more he wants is. He himself will never be satisfied. So in a strange, macabre kind of way, Howard being shot and killed moments after earning his biggest score on a bet ever, still riding the high of the $1.2 million he just earned in winnings, is about as happy an ending as Howard can get. He dies with a semi-smile on his face, believing that he has in fact reclaimed control of his life, even though he's never been in control. The unpredictability of the universe has made sure of that. He's only ever been able to rationalize control to himself through his own hubris. But then, what to make of the final sequence of the movie, that follows the camera as it enters Howard's bullet wound, and reveals a geological terrain not unlike our trip through the inside of the Black Opal that we see at the beginning of the movie. In a certain sense, this sequence implies that Howard too, like the Black Opal, is an uncut gem, which is a term that refers to things or people that are unrefined, imperfect, or borderline unattractive, but ultimately hold beauty within. On one hand, yes, this sequence shows that Howard's entire being revolved around his gems, so much so that within him is the very makeup of the Black Opal. But on the other hand, it shows that Howard too, despite his scumminess and manipulation and general unpleasantness, had beauty on his inside, behind his rough exterior. Maybe at the end of the day, there was value in Howard's flaws. After all, the audience roots for him despite his shortcomings. Julia loves him despite his short temper and jealousy. His son in the ending montage of the movie proudly yells about his father upon seeing KG on the TV. Clearly, he really looks up to his father. As easy as it would be to call Howard a bad person, he's a person that certainly did very bad things, but he's added value to the lives of some of the people around him too. He's complicated, and hell, the bad may outweigh the good, but he's not all one or the other. There's also a universality to that final trip through Howard's bullet wound, seeing as how it echoes the opening sequence through the Black Opal in Ethiopia, except this time it dumps the audience into the vast expanse of space. Frankly, I read this just as how bizarre this universe we all share with one another is. While there are people in underserved countries having their labor exploited and legs broken in the name of mining gems, on this same planet thousands of miles away, there are people like Howard, paying little mind to the conditions under which his merchandise has come to him, but having no moral quandary making a profit off of their backs. Josh Safdie in an interview with the AV Club pointed this out, and just how ludicrous it is that a life or death situation can come in the form of laboring under impossible conditions in a third world country, digging out rocks from the Earth's surface, or from KG making or missing a free throw shot. It's wrong and unfair, but strangely unifying, and, well, random. So that we end our claustrophobic, anxiety-fueled 2-hour odyssey into the short but happy life of Howard Ratner, with our being pushed out into the middle of space, where Howard's mad dash across New York City all of a sudden feels small, and is just one story out there in a sea of stories and experiences on this strange planet we call Earth, is kind of the perfect cosmic conclusion to Uncut Gems. So that's it. That's my interpretation of the ending of Uncut Gems. I'd truly love to hear what all of you out there thought of the movie and its ending. Do you agree with my interpretation? How do you see it differently? Always want to hear what you all think, and please remember to like and subscribe for more movie related content. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Justin Cook, and I'll see you next time.